that Mr. Dwyer changed his pleas to guilty. He stood up in front of God and everybody to admit that he had molested a child under the age of 13 all those decades ago. So today, at least some justice was achieved for Bobby and for, as James pointed out, some of the other victims who perhaps may not have come forward, who I do urge to come forward now in light of this conviction today. There's nothing to be afraid of, and it would be best if you did come forward so that we can continue to make sure that there's justice done in these matters. I regret that as part of the plea negotiations, we didn't go forward with James's cases tomorrow, but that was, as the judge observed, part of the give and the take of plea negotiating. So I'm pleased with today's result, and I thank you.
Since we weren't allowed up to Ireland, I was not allowed up in the court this morning for the motions and things like that.
You weren't?
Well, not the pre-trial stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what do you need to know about that?
Well,
What exactly?
Very complicated.
Right, but part of it was that you not process, but some things got dismissed this morning, did it not?
Yes, and that was the plan all along. There were charges that we intended to discard because they weren't really part of what the evidence would have shown after very intensive interviews with the victim, and we didn't deem them to be necessary because we had multiple charges of forcible sodomy, which carry up to life in prison on each one of those charges, and aggravated sexual battery, which carries 1 to 20 years on each one of those charges.
Now, the two that was convicted were amended.
They were not.
They were not.
No, those were not amended. He pled to them as they were charged originally.
Okay.
1 count of forcible sodomy, a child under the age of 13, and 1 count of aggravated sexual battery, a child under the age of 13. Sexual battery means to sexually abuse, which is defined in the code as touching the intimate parts of a child under the age, or causing him to touch your own or somebody else's. And the forcible sodomy, I don't want to go through that again.
No.
We all understand what that means.
Yeah. The final thing would be.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
The final thing would be the direct indictment a couple weeks ago was.
That was a hedge my bets or insurance policy charge because I was away and I couldn't argue it myself. Of course, it was in the capable hands of Mr. Hook, who argued it well. That was in the event that we may have lost on our speedy trial challenge, that we would still have a charge to go forward on. Although not the strongest of the charges from an evidentiary standpoint, there was something left that would have survived the speedy trial challenge and that we could have prosecuted had we lost on those motions. But now all that is academic because having entered pleas of guilty today, he gave up his right of appeal. So the case is, for all intents and purposes, concluded.